Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're standing in front of my 2016 Subaru WRX that's pro-tuned, dyno-tuned through Bren Tuning. And in today's video, I hope to answer a question that you guys have been asking literally forever. What are my Accessport values? What's normal? Everything you need to know about what to read, what it should look like on your Accessport. This is going to be specific for the WRXs, the 15 plus FA20 motors, and I'll talk about when you're running stock, when you're stage 1, Cobb stage 2, and then when you're pro-tuned. Ultimately, what you should be looking for, what should be happening, the values that I monitor, the things that I've been recommended to monitor. Yeah, let's get into it. So I'm gonna start the car to look at my Accessport. I think that's ultimately what it's gonna be like. So let's do this. It's not gonna be that loud. That's okay. This is my handy dandy Accessport. I know that you guys probably know what these look like, but this is what I'm typically monitoring right now. So you can see I've got my air fuel correction, my air fuel learning. I've got my boost, my feedback knock. I had my fine knock learn for a while, but now I'm looking at my wastegate duty cycle and my dynamic advanced multiplier. We're gonna take a still screen right here of the Accessport, and we're gonna go back and talk about this at the house in the garage so I can put some numbers up on the screen and we can have a better conversation about it. So let's head back to the garage. So we're inside in the editing office. This is one of the first videos that I've actually done inside, not next to my car, not sitting in front of my car. I guess we started with the car, but it started raining. So we're gonna go over all the Accessport values that I've been seeing, what you should be looking at, generally what I'm looking for, and basically everything Accessport, because that's what you guys keep asking me. And we're also going to talk a little bit about what the OTS tunes are saying that you're probably going to get, the ranges that they say are fairly acceptable, because I know a lot of you guys run the OTS tunes and you always ask, you know, I'm stage 1, is that safe? What should I look for? So I'm going to try to cover as much as I can here. I'll talk about what I got with my OTS tunes, both stage 1 plus and stage 2, and with my current Pro Tune, so you can have a comparison and maybe judge for yourself what you want to use for a tune, because you might be more comfortable with better values or less variability. And we're going to talk about all of that in this video. We're going to start with the values that I'm looking at. I showed them to you guys before, but let's talk quickly about what I'm looking at. And I look at 5 really important things, sometimes 6, it depends. I just had a problem with my car, so I am looking at the wastegate duty cycle, but that's not something you necessarily have to monitor. So the number one thing that you want to monitor, in my opinion, is your DAM, your dynamic advanced multiplier. Now the DAM is going to tell you a lot of information, but most importantly, what it's going to tell you is, you know, you can essentially equate it to the health of your engine, right? Your DAM is a number that's going to give you a response based on how well your car is running. Now, for an FA20 WRX 2015 plus, obviously, because it's an FA20, the normal range is anywhere between 0 and 1. 0 being your car is imploding, so maybe not a normal range, but you're gonna see 0 to 1. 1 being perfect. You want your car pretty much always running at 1. Now, a lot of people are gonna say it can go down to as low as 0.6 and still be okay, but not running the greatest. Anything below 0.6 and you got a problem. But in my opinion, anything below 0.9 and it holding like that, you've got a problem just in general. So number 1 is going to be monitor your DAM. Now I'm going to go through the things that I monitor, and then I'll talk about normal ranges and everything like that. The second thing that I monitor that's really important is feedback knock and feedback knock learn. And ultimately with your feedback knock, you want to see as little activity as possible, that being 0 if possible. With the FA20 2015 plus WRX, there are a couple normal numbers you'll actually see. See a negative 1.41 and a negative 2.81. Now those are semi-common numbers if you've got problems, but you can kind of see things across the board with the feedback knock. And what a lot of people say is acceptable is between 0 and 4. Now you want to see as much 0 as possible. And if you're seeing any knock while idling, any knock while idling, you probably have an issue. Now we'll talk about knock in a second, because there's a lot of things that can cause feedback that isn't rod knock and isn't an issue with your engine. So I'll talk about that in a second when we look at normal values. I also watch my boost through the Cobb Accessport. Now I also have the boost gauge dialed up on my upper screen. However, I think that boost on the upper screen isn't necessarily the most accurate, and you can kind of see when you use other tools that are plugged in through your OBD2. So just to be safe, right, so that I can see the high and the low, I run my boost to make sure I don't have a boost leak, because ultimately when you drive your car, you know you know after a while what the car should be reaching boost-wise and what it shouldn't be depending on your driving. So if you've got an issue and you're flooring it and you're not hitting peak boosts, you've got an issue, right? Like I just said. So I do watch that. Some people will watch coolant temp versus boost. I just monitor the car, to be honest. I don't drive enough and in the right situations to monitor coolant temp. There have been a couple times where I monitor coolant temp, and those are typically when I'm doing long distance trips, and long distance trips where I know that I have sections of back roads that I'm gonna drive spiritedly for a long period of time. Now that's when I'm gonna look at coolant temps, so I know that I'm not putting too much on the engine because I don't have an upgraded intercooler. I don't really have any upgraded cooling aspects of the car. And the last thing that I'm gonna monitor other than my wastegate duty cycle, which we can talk about in a different video and why I'm monitoring that, because that's not something you guys need to be monitoring on a normal basis. I had my boost control, solenoid go, and those are tied together, and that's why I'm monitoring that. But again, different discussion. The last thing that I'm looking at is my air fuel ratio. Now, not so important to look at, honestly. There is a normal range, and you know, most people can try to pick up when there's an issue. So it's something you can monitor, especially if you're like a fully built car. Your tuner may give you acceptable values and you need to look at them long term, or if you're doing e-tuning, it's something to look at because your AFR is a really important part of the car's tuning. Fortunately, I'm pretty comfortable with, you know, my tuner and the tune that I have, and I don't think that I need to monitor the AFR. But there are normal ranges for AFR. It's something like between 0 and 20 is what they say, but I've been over 20 before, and I don't think I have a problem with my car. I'm at over a year pro-tuned, so I don't constantly sit over 20, but it's definitely happened. So I know that I talked about DAM first, and DAM is really important, and we're gonna go through each of these and talk about the three tunes, and that's Pro Tune, which can be e-tuning, dyno tuning, whatever it is. Then you have OTS1, OTS2, stage 1, and stage 2. So when I drove my car with my OTS tunes, my Cobb OTS tunes, the DAM was a big concern because, and at that point, I wasn't just getting gas from Shell. I wasn't just putting Shell V-Powered 93 into my car. I was using Shell, Mobil, basically high-end, high-trafficked gas stations and gas, and I was always using 93. However, when I was running my OTS tunes, my DAM was kind of all over the place. Now, it was fluctuating between a 0.8 and 1, and I was very uncomfortable with that because I knew that it needed to be at a 1 to say you're running healthy. So that was one of the reasons I only used my OTS tunes for a short period of time. Now the scary thing is a lot of people use OTS tunes, they put it on, they take the Accessport out because they just want the tune, they don't want to monitor the car, they just want a little bit and they want it gone. So, and that happens, and a lot of you guys are going to gawk and be like, whoa, what? I know people that do it. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I recommend not doing that because you need to be able to look at things like your DAM. You are tuning the car. Whether it's OTS or not, you're applying a tune and reducing the factors of safety on your engine. Now, when I went stage 2 plus, it actually got a little better than the stage 1 plus because I think the stage 1 plus is reaching for a little bit more power without the supporting mods, but I really don't know because I didn't write the tunes myself and I didn't do the tunings myself. However, since I got Pro Tune, I've only dropped below 1 once or twice, and it was for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and it was when I was getting to below a quarter tank of gas. So if you guys know how gas tanks work, often residue and water may build up on the bottom of your tank, so when you get below a quarter of a tank, even if you're putting good gas and everything for a long period of time, if you've got a lot of miles on your car, you may have a reduction in gas quality because you're mixing with a lot of the things that aren't getting pumped out of your gas tank. So some people recommend, especially if you're tuning the living crap out of your car or doing a lot with your car, I would recommend cleaning your tank every once in a while and make sure you flush it out, clean it, descale it, get everything off there. It'll give you a better long-term experience and reduce the possibility of something happening. That being said, like I said, since I've got a Pro Tune and I've been going to get 93 V-Power from Shell, that's all I run in my car, I've consistently been at 1 with no issues. Now, feedback knock. Feedback knock was another thing that made me very uncomfortable with the OTS tunes. You really want it to be 0. I was consistently registering a negative 1.41 and a negative 2.81 consistently. Now, I was getting other things kind of throughout the board, nothing ever over 4, and I was things were picking up. Now, when I got the OTS tune and I started really monitoring my feedback knock, I started to realize that the WRXs love to spit out numbers, especially if you're in a bumpy area, spit out knock numbers all over the place, especially when you run air conditioning. So if you're running air conditioning, expect to register feedback knock because the air conditioner, the motor itself, the compressor itself, is going to register on the sensors. It's inevitable. Same goes, and this is what I found that's interesting, same goes if if you live in like a cold area and you have to use your defrost on your front windshield, for some reason, every once in a while, I'll catch and pick something up when I use that. So during the summer and anytime, I try to drive with my HVAC system in my car off at all times. And it can get uncomfortable, and obviously if I'm warm or I'm cold, I change that. But typically I'm opening my windows a little bit, and that's just so that I know what's going on in my car. Now again, it was a similar situation with the OTS tunes. I was kind of all over the place. I got the Pro Tune, and I've pretty much stayed at 0. Now I'd say maybe once a week I'll register a number, and often I know it's something rattling, or I know that I've hit a pothole, because often I'll just look and it's blipped to feedback knock, which is usually what happens, but it's not like I'm experiencing knock. And every once in a while I'll experience like a negative 1.05 or negative 1.41 for like a couple minutes while I'm under throttle. I take my foot off throttle and then I'm back on throttle and there's no issue. It's like once a month, something like that. So I've got to imagine there's something loose in the car, something like that. I'm not overly concerned. It's not happening that much compared to using OTS tunes where it was happening pretty regularly. Boost is pretty self-explanatory. I've had no issues so far with boost, so I'm thankful for that. Same with air-fuel ratios, other than what I was saying before where I was seeing some weird AFRs with the OTS tunes. So I know that was a lot of information. I hope I talked a little bit about the numbers, made you guys a little bit more comfortable. Hopefully I impressed upon you guys that you actually do want to be watching these, and you do want to watch what your Accessport is telling you, because it is an invaluable and ultimately free, because you've already purchased the Accessport resource. So highly recommend monitoring those values. And if you think that you've got an issue with your car, look at some of the things you can monitor and watch it. You know, if you think you're overheating, watch your coolant temp, watch your cat temp. You know, I guess the cat temp doesn't really tell you what you need to know, but there are lots of things you can monitor. So if you think you have leaks, if you think you have a boost leak, you can watch your boost. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Monitor your car, try to catch the problem before you blow a hole through the side of your engine or before your cooling system fails. I hope I addressed everything you guys had asked for about my Accessport values, and you know, I hope this gave you also some insight about why I left the OTS tunes and got a Pro Tune very, very quickly. I think it's pretty obvious, but I mean, I don't want to bore you guys too much. Thank you for being here. I hope you liked the format of being inside. I've got to put a few more videos out that are inside because unfortunately it's rained on me a lot and it's been terrible weather recently. I've got some installs coming to the channel, but I've also got some stuff inside talking about stuff. I'm also going to be releasing a series about how I make money with my cars. Maybe not a series, maybe one comprehensive video. I'm a little unsure because there's a lot of content there. It might be like a 40-minute video, but kind of talking about how I make sure I'm always in the green, or I'm always in a profitable position when I step into a car. And that's really important because you can apply that to flipping cars, but you can also apply that to owning the car, where you can step into a car for a period of time, drive it for a period of time, and then still come out ahead. So it's a great place to be. I should have that video almost out. Well, I mean, it's in progress. Those kinds of videos are harder because I'm trying to sum a massive like mentality towards cars. It's not even just it's not just a straight process. It's a mentality. So you have to feel it, breathe it, live it to be able to do it successfully and really come out on top. I won't bore you anymore. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys being here.